Welcome back to Moments Uncorked. And Andrea and I thought, this would be a good time to share some of our Cuban travel tips, some of the things we might have learned the hard way, some of the things we learned from fellow travelers, and some of the things we've just learned during our time that help make our adventure a little easier, a little simpler. And we believe sharing those trips with everybody, you may find something in there that helps you on your planning your next vacation time. And if you have tips of your own, just put them in the comments down below and add to it, and it's just going to help everybody as they travel. So our first tip I would say is do your homework, know what you want to make your vacation special, and Cuba's not for everybody, so you have to understand that there's some slight differences. If you're looking for a fantastic, beautiful beach, then Cuba's the right place to be going. If you're looking for some rum, Cuba's a good place to be going. But there's certain things that makes it a little bit different. Know that your star standards that you would apply to Mexico and the DR, it's not going to be equivalent with Cuba. When you see a 4 or 5 star listed in Cuba, that's not going to be equivalent to a 4 or 5 star in Mexico. So just take that into account. But what you have to remember as well is going to Cuba is probably going to cost about $1,000 less than it would going to Mexico or the DR or Jamaica. And sometimes that means 2-3 vacations a year instead of 1 or 2 to other locations. I think a couple good things to note too about when you're traveling to Cuba. I mean, there's a few locations around Cuba that you can go to. We've only been to 3, which is Veradero, Cayo Santa Maria, and Cayo Coco. And each one of them has slight differences, so it all depends on what you're looking for in the resort of your choice. We did find Veradero. There seems to be a lot more to do, that's for sure. Veradero is well established. It's a resort area. All the resorts are right along the waterfront, and those resorts, for all of them, you have access to Veradero itself, and you also have access to go to Havana. If you're looking for something to do later into the evening, you will always find it in and around the Veradero area. Now the beaches are a little different. I always found for some reason the seas or the waters are a little rougher in and around Veradero, and as well as the seafloor and the beach can be quite shelly and corally, so it's not that soft, silky sand that you may be used to for other locations. Now, Cayo Santa Maria, which really was one of our favorites for quite a little while, it has its downfalls in the fact that the closest airport is Santa Maria, the village, and for the Villa of Santa Maria to travel to resorts can take you anywhere from an hour and 40 minutes to 2 hours, depending on what location you're on in the island. However, on Santa Maria, the beaches are absolutely beautiful. It's white sandy beaches. Normally, I've never experienced times when the waters were really rough, except maybe when the winds were up high. Now, this year it's on a Cayo or an island isolated all by itself, so there isn't a whole bunch to do. You can go to the little market areas, and a lot of them will have a restaurant there or a bar there, and they may have bowling there for the evenings, and a lot of them will put on entertainment on certain nights. But I certainly did find in Santa Maria that a lot of the resort kind of rolls up at 11 o'clock and goes to sleep, which after a day in the sun, that's not really a bad thing either. You'll always find a little corner open if you found some friends that you want to continue talking and carry on for a little while. That's most certainly you can do that. Now, Cayo Coco, which we just traveled to for the first time this year as well, what I surely liked about it is it's got the same sandy beaches as you're going to find in Santa Maria. You will find some smaller resorts there. It is isolated as it's an island, and you will find that it has the same events going on at the little market areas that you can find a restaurant, a bar, and bowling. But the good thing is your resorts are only 20 to 30 minutes away from the airport, and I got to admit that's kind of convenient there. Now, Keokoko has a small town run that you can get a taxi and go into and visit for the day. And I would probably most certainly recommend doing that, although we did not this time around. Now, Santa Maria, we have gone into the town of Remedios quite a few times and really enjoyed our experience of the day. Having a few beers at the local tavern or the local bars, I guess you would say. Having their pizza from the roadside, visited their church, visiting their old movie theater, and just experiencing some of their culture, which was, irreplaceable and hard to explain, but it was well worth the day trip to go do it. Next, I would say, and one of the most important, is review social media. There are all kinds of resources out there to review any resort you're thinking about going to or location you're thinking about going to in Cuba. Just remember, on social media, it is all opinion, okay? It's not facts. But there are some really good videos out there on YouTube. I know Finding Fish and Beach Bumbling are both fantastic. And they've got a lot of reviews on Cuban resorts. Also, check out Facebook. Many of the resorts you go to have a Facebook Friends of Enchinachos or Friends of Iberostar. And there you're getting opinions of people that have been there, and for a lot of them, people that are currently right there at the time. And you can also read TripAdvisor. Just remember, on TripAdvisor, the only thing I do find there is you're getting the extremes. You're getting people that were really, really happy or people that were really upset with their trip. So you're really not getting what the average review is of the resort. So just bear that in mind, but that's a good place to find information.
Shop around when booking. We normally go to Trip Central and compare prices for different months, whether the airport is nearby, and different departure times. We try to avoid connecting flights, but sometimes the price is just right. We can typically afford 3 trips to Cuba in a year compared to 1 or 2 to other locations.
All right, Cuban airport customs. I've learned a couple things here, let me tell you. My first trip into Cuba, I had lost probably 40 or 50 pounds since my passport photo. So when they bring you up on the camera when you stand there and then they compare your picture, my face just didn't fit the face profile that was on my passport. I envisioned I was going to some cell with centipedes and dirt floors, and I was quite nervous, to be honest. The customs staff that were there were very friendly, were putting me at ease. Don't worry about it. We just gotta call in the next supervisor and the next supervisor until they got me through. And I did get through, but it was a good hour waiting. I do believe it was. And the bus was an hour waiting for me, I might have to add. But they were pleasant enough. Now, I have also made the mistake of breaking out a camera too early in an airport. And I was quickly told to, pointed to the sign, no cameras, and told to put it away, and apologized and put the camera away. However, one thing to note about Cuban customs, this is definitely no place to be joking around. Remember, you are in a different country, respect their rules, and this is not the place to play around with what you may or may not have in your luggage.
Airport taxi versus bus. So the taxi from Veradero will be about a 40-minute ride and cost you $50 to $60 each way. Now, it can get you earlier than the bus, but check-in is typically 4 to 5. And so arriving early won't really be beneficial. Now, arriving to the airport before the bus can have its benefits, especially if you haven't pre-booked your seats. If any transfers were included in your package when traveling, please remember to let your travel rep know so that you will allow them to be aware of your plans. That way the bus full of people aren't waiting on you. Keokoko will be around $30 and about a 20-minute ride, and the same applies. as in Veradero. Arriving early isn't always a benefit. Santa Maria, take the bus. A taxi will be an easy $100 and take you an hour and 40 minutes. So no need to do that.
On check-in, I can only ask. Be pleasant. Attitude's not going to get you a better room. Doesn't hurt to ask if upgrades are available, and they might have something available there for you. But given the check-in staff an attitude when you first arrive, really isn't going to be beneficial, and it really sets the mood for your own trip. Remember, it's your trip. You paid for it. You're going to set the tone for it. Be prepared for hiccups and little issues. In Cuba, they are going to happen. That's a given. However, find the humor in it. Make it a pleasant memory. Make it something you're going to look back on fondly and have a good laugh about. When dealing with all the staff, I just ask, have the same compassion. They serve you with a smile, but their lives are nowhere near as easy as yours at the resort. Their shortages are far worse than what you may be seeing at the resort, and they have to serve you, hear you complain about a shortage of eggs when they haven't seen eggs for a month. So, just bear that in mind when you're talking about it. Now, one thing we certainly noticed as of late is since COVID anyway, it has become quite common in most Cuban resorts that the bar fridge is not stocked anymore. You've got your water, but there's no beer in the pump, unless if you've paid for an upgrade that indicated that level of service would be available. Now, at first, I was a little taken aback by it, but you know what? You go up the store, you buy a 6-pack of beer at the resort store, so you're not going far. And you put those beer in your fridge, and now you got a stocked fridge. So really, it's a minor inconvenience. It's something a lot of the resorts just aren't doing. So it's not specific to anyone. It's just the way it is. And for me, that's something I like to have, so I can go get it.
Money exchange. We don't find the need to do this. We bring US and Canadian dollars. We will end up lots of times buying loonies and toonies, even single ones, off of some of the bar staff or wait staff when they start to accumulate them for a bigger bill. Now, I wouldn't say stop tipping with loonies and toonies, as they're still appreciated, and someone's always willing to buy them like us.
Now, buffets. Normally, you're going to find the buffets in Cuba will be the same for the duration of the week. It'll be the same offerings every night you go. However, I do got to admit, I have yet to make it through one night and eat everything in the buffet so that I have to repeat myself the next day. Typically, I find something I really like, and I'll have that a couple of nights. Now, I do find that the buffet fare is usually lukewarm at best. What I typically do anyway, is I will bring whatever it is from the buffet that I wanted up to one of the cook stations or grilling stations, and they happily throw it on for me and heat it up a little bit, add a little salt and pepper, add a little onion to it, and pass it back to me, and that way I get a really hot meal. If you need it, bring it. That's how it goes with condiments or anything you need to have for your meals in Cuba. They may not have what you're used to available, or what they do have for ketchup is slightly different in flavor than what you're used to in Canada. So if you have that favorite condiment that you need to make your vacation great, bring it with you. We bring ketchup, mustard, relish packets. Normally we'll bring peanut butter with us. We don't always remember to take it to the buffet with us, but that's on us. That's not on them.
Over-the-counter medications. There are some things that we bring and we bring regular. But there are other things that we thought we would never need. And on this last trip, well, it turned out we did. So it never hurts to have something like a Pepto-Bismol or an Imodium or something. If you end up with that little bit of deli belly going on, then you'll have some relief. Sunblock, necessary. I burn very easily. I bring 50s. you might want to do that yourself because the sun is different than it is here at home. After sun care. David learned the lesson the hard time this time as well. It turned out one of our Canadian friends had something that gave him a good relief. So there's aloes, there's different things, but for after sunburn care and relief, you might want to do that. Now we have always bought bug repellent and different things for that kind of stuff. Typically, we would use our Skin So Soft and a regular off, and we've never really had issues. Again, this trip taught us some lessons, so we've learned that the things with DEET in it has a much better effect than what we were bringing before, so we'll be switching that up. Now,
so let's talk about the nasty little sand fleas and no-see-ums. First, sand fleas. My wife likes the shade on the beach, so we typically go find some shade. One thing we did learn this time around is that sand fleas will burrow deep in the heat. So that's why they'll say, head to the beach around 9 o'clock or so when the sun's been out for a while and it warms up the sand to such a temperature that the sand fleas don't like being on it and they'll burrow deeper, and you're going to more than likely not experience bites. However, if you go to the shade like us, remember that sand stays cooler for a little bit longer, so bear that in mind. No-see-ums, try this stuff with some DEET because we tried just about everything. We had some menthol rub-on, we had some Skin So Soft, I'm pretty sure somebody had mentioned rubbing peanut butter and jelly on your toes and that would stop the no-see-ums, and I'm pretty sure I tried it. But we didn't get any relief. However, we love sitting out in the evening having drinks outside. I don't want to go to a warm vacation spot so I can sit indoors. I want to go to a warm vacation spot so I can sit outside. Also, for the bug bites, bring calamine lotion. It does give some relief. Now, for these, everybody's different. Some people may not be affected by bites like others are. Some people attract the mosquito or the no-see-ums and the sand fleas like magnets. So you have to find that one thing that works for you.
some items we bring for comfort. We don't necessarily need these, but we like to have them. And we've learned over the years that they bring us pleasure, so we make sure they're packed. I'm 4'10". I don't fit right in just about any chair, definitely not in airport chairs either. So I have what we call the foot hammock. My husband found it online, gave it to me as a gift one year, and now I don't travel without it. It easily slings over the back of where your tray table would be on the back of the chair in front of you, and it allows my feet to have a perch rather than just dangling and swelling on the airplane. We also like to bring a splitter so that we're watching off our little tablet, our iPhone, whatever we're watching off of. We're able to share it and each have our own sound dampening headphones. Just makes the flight that much more comfortable. Beach towels, we do bring them. We have a couple of towels that we always have in our bag. That way if there's issue with laundry services or if you're paying a down payment, and we had a resort where we heard that people were taking other people's towels because they had misplaced their own. We don't need to worry about that. We will use the towels if they're available to us, but we will also use our own. We also have what we call a beach safe. It's a bag. There will be a link and a picture coming up, but it allows you to wrap it around the little umbrella, palapas, a chair leg, wherever you want it. But it allows me to bring my book. We bring our tipping money. We bring whatever we feel we would like to have with us for our outing, but we don't need to watch it like hawks. It locks up. It's safe. It's waterproof. It's even cut resistant. It's a very handy little thing to have. Another thing I don't leave home without is a little jar of some kind of room deodorizer spray. Scentsies, Bed and Bath, lots of them will have just a small little things. I like to spritz them around my room. Sometimes when you're in Cuba, the room and the air conditioning just smells a little musty or it's just not fresh. And I spritz around and I enjoy my room much better. David and I aren't made of money, but we know the situation in Cuba. We have always, anytime we've gone, tried to take along some kind of little gift or things that we feel like they might have shortages on or needs, and some of these things have changed over the years. But we like to include medicines. We take some adult medicines, whether it's for allergies or pain relievers. We do the same for children, different age groups and categories, from babies right up to adults. We have charging blocks and rechargeable batteries, things like that now. With their power shortages and the different issues, anything solar is fantastic. We still like to bring some children's toys, maybe clothes or games. We leave these with our room service people. We take them to the bartenders. You get to know somebody that you really enjoy and they give great service. We pass these things along to them. We always have room in our suitcase for plenty.
All right, one question that pops up a lot is power in Cuba. Do I need a converter? Do I need an inverter? What do I need to do? Power in Cuba comes with both a 110 and a 220 volt. Personally, most bathrooms will have a 110 volt plug indicated there. I wouldn't trust that with anything expensive. We have made the mistake before of plugging in a North American curling iron and have the handle melt right off of it because it wasn't 110 volt. Even though it was marked, it wasn't 110. What we did learn to do is you can easily find on Amazon curling irons, hair dryers that come in dual voltage. So they'll work on a 110 and a 220. Turn it up to 220 first, plug it in. If it doesn't get hot, that likely is a 110 volt, but you're not going to blow up your stuff or you're not going to burn it. Imagine that curling iron melting, the handle melting off it as you got it in your hair. When it comes to anything with a charging block, like your iPads, your laptops, your iPhones, or your cell phones, or your cameras, if they've got a charging block on it, as long as you didn't get it somewhere, let's say it's a dollar store one, or at 110, 220 volt, that's what they can handle for voltage coming in, and then they drop it down to the required amount for your device. It's very hard to see. In my age, I need a set of binoculars or my glasses, reading glasses on for sure. But you look on the plug end of it, and it'll indicate 110, 220 on it. So we have never brought a converter to Cuba, and we've never felt the need for it. Toxic reviews. You're going to read a lot of them, and I don't downplay those reviews. I mean, somebody likely had a bad experience. They had something happen to them that they want to get it out there on the review channels for other people to see, and so be it. But travel there with an open mind. Go to experience their culture in their country with what they have available. Know that you're not traveling in North America. You're not traveling in your own culture. You're not traveling in your own country with your own availability and your own standards. These are their standards, their country. If you read these toxic reviews too much, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to set yourself up for a mediocre trip at best. So that's why we try to take them with a grain of salt, and we go with an open mind. We go to experience what it has to offer. And we know we're not at home in the cold, in the snow. And that's mostly what matters to us.